The most important week of the Mariners season starts today. The Mariners are taking on the Royals in Kansas City. And in this episode, Joe and I are going to break down all three games in the best detail that we possibly can. We'll break down game one. We're going to give you guys our FanDuel favorites, and then we're going to break down games 2 and 3. We might be sprinkling in a little bit of news here and there along the way because there are just some specific things to mention. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching episode 227 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. And this is the Mr. Sticky episode of the podcast. It is Mr. Sticky's birthday. So round of applause. Happy birthday to Mr. Sticky. The Mariners have some Mariner momentum going right now. And you know what? I think that there's a lot to be said about where this team is right now. And a lot of people have said, hey, it's the Etsy Witch. Hey, it's the Cheetos. Hey, it's the mustaches. Well, I'm here to tell you that I really want to know what's going to happen over this next week. So, Joe, with the power of editing, I didn't tell you about this, but with the power of editing, I'm going to open this fortune cookie and I'm going to read you this fortune. Now, you'll have to speed it up or something because
I'll just cut.
You got to eat both, the whole fortune cookie before you read it. So anyway,
you're a slow eater.
This is what is going to happen to the Mariners over the next week. The season may lie inside this fortune cookie. Let's go.
I hope it's just 6 numbers. Like it's one of those fortunes.
For this week, for the Seattle Mariners, this fortune is what's going to happen. Here we go. Do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. So what does that mean? When you think about that in the sense of the Mariners.
Colt Fuchsias
say the Mariners are going to be playing the Astros this week, okay? Obviously, you want to win that series. But let's not go like, the Mariners and Astros have some bad blood. Let's not go headhunting, okay?
Oh.
Let's not, get a little weird. Let's not try to start a brawl or anything. Let's just keep the good vibes going. Because if you hit Jeremy Pena, well, sorry, but Gino's getting hit. It's the Astros. That's what's going to happen. So do unto others as you want them to do to you, Joe. How are we feeling about that?
It's pretty baseline. It's kind of a layup as far as fortunes are concerned, but I like your interpretation to, yes, still give the Astros the what for after this series against the Royals, but don't let things get out of hand because things can snowball very quickly in situations like that because the tensions we know are going to be high, but it does have to start in game 1. Before we even get to Houston, there's a game 1 today against the Kansas City Royals. And there's 2 things. The first being Michael Wacha has the best changeup in all of baseball, apparently. 100 percentile off-speed run value for Michael Wacha being activated off of the 7-day concussion IL for this game to make his second start of the month of September. And I mean, the I guess good news-ish, there's I don't know if it's good news. There's a couple Mariners batters that have hit well against changeups this year as far as run value is concerned. Julio has a run value of 4. JP has a run value of 3. Polo and Gino also with a run value of 3. Josh Naylor, run value of 2. Garver, a run value of 2. I doubt he plays in this game, though, but walk on the mound. And then Cal has a run value of 2 as well against the changeup. And some of the offensive guys, as far as their numbers in Kauffman specifically, Julio Rodriguez has a 250 WRC plus in his career in Kauffman Stadium. JP Crawford, a 160 WRC plus. Looking further down, Cal Raleigh has a 126 WRC plus. Gino, as a Mariner, I don't think that the way I've curated the stats will show his stats in Kauffman as not a Mariner, but a 128 WRC plus. There are some guys on this team that have hit well in Kauffman. None better than former Mariners Jared Kelenic with a 300 WRC plus as a Mariner in Kauffman, and other former Mariner Ty France at 279 WRC plus, who lead the list on this little stat query. But It's Michael Wacha against Logan Gilbert. And you like the matchup on paper, but we know Logan on the road has not been the greatest. And the Royals are just a better team at home. Like, this is, as far as where the vibes are at, how good the Mariners have played at home, and how much momentum you have going into this with a 9-game win streak on the line, first place likely on the line. The Royals are, they're 40-35 at home. They're a better team at home than they are on the road, plain and simple. And with Wacha coming back for this first game, only missed one start probably. It is a big deal for them. They're probably out of it. They're 6.5 back to the wild card, but if there was ever a time for a team to maybe feel the juice of 2, maybe 3 pretty pivotal pieces of what led them to success last year coming back for the final 2 weeks, Wacha and then the eventual game 2 starter, that's as good of a kind of momentum killer as you can get as far as you being the opposition. But like you said, Etsy Witch, Cheetos, mustache, whatever it takes, because fortune cookie, whatever it takes at this point, because that's kind of what the Mariners did as far as the majority of the games on the homestand, whatever it took. There was 2 very marathon-esque games. And in those situations, whatever it took. And they got it done in those 2 ones specifically.
Mm-hmm. You talked a little bit about the guys' numbers at Kauffman Stadium. Let's talk about their numbers a little bit just versus Michael Wacha in general. So you look down the lineup, and Michael Wacha's been around for quite some time, so a lot of guys have actually faced him. None more than Eugenio Suarez, who with 38 at-bats is hitting .447 with 2 home runs, 8 RBI, and an 1184 OPS. Look for Gino to get in there versus Wacha. The thing with guys with good changeups, if they're right-handed, the ball is going to be coming back towards you as a right-handed hitter instead of away from you as a lefty. So Gino, if Wacha's throwing that changeup, Gino's going to have an easier time seeing that out of the hand. Whereas someone like Cal Raleigh, who is 0 for 12 versus Michael Wacha, it makes more sense. He's hitting from the left side. The other guy with the best numbers versus Wacha is Randy Arozarena, who has 3 home runs in 19 at-bats. Now he's only hitting .211, but a 987 OPS. JP Crawford has a home run versus Michael Wacha. Polo has a home run versus Michael Wacha. Luke Raley has a home run versus Michael Wacha. And Julio has a home run versus Michael Wacha. So again, it's not to say that the Mariners are going to be able to beat up on Michael Wacha. It may sound like that from the stats. It's just those of what the guys have done so far in their career. On the other side of the ball, the guy who's beat up Logan Gilbert the most isn't going to surprise you. It's Salvador Perez. He's hitting .375 over 16 ABs with 2 homers, 8 RBI, and a 1287 OPS versus Logan in his career. Other guys with homers, Vinny Pasquantino has a homer versus Logan. Bobby Witt has a homer versus Logan, and Randall Grichuk has a home run versus Logan Gilbert. Now, the Mariners already faced the Royals earlier this year, and they went 2-2 in that series. And we talked about how important this upcoming series was because at the time, the Royals were a team that was on the Mariners' heels in the wild card chase. You mentioned they're now 6.5 games back. They're really not as big of a threat as they once were in that regard. Although if certain teams in the wild card race, cough, cough, Red Sox, continue to suck, then maybe there's a chance that the Royals can find a way back into things. But this is a game where I really don't know how to feel because, like you mentioned, Logan's been bad on the road. The Royals are a better team at home. And frankly, we know how the last few series in Kauffman have gone. The last 2 years in Kauffman, there have been some big blow-up starts. And one of those pitchers, actually both of those pitchers, are pitching in this series. But first, Joe, let's talk about our FanDuel favorites a little bit here for game 1, because the Mariners are the favorites at minus 136 with the Royals at plus 116. The Mariners are the favorites in this one, which I find very interesting.
I think it's a lot of the momentum and the recency bias, if you will. Royals struggling a little bit compared to where the Mariners are winners of 9 in a row. The Royals lost their most recent series against the Phillies in Philadelphia, a tough series nonetheless. But you look back to their previous years right before that, a 4-game set against the Guardians where they only won 1 game in Cleveland. I think that there's a lot of the momentum in the Mariners' favor as far as where the lines and odds are being set. For the over-under in this game at 8.5, it's really tough because with the pitching matchup of Gilbert versus Walker, there's, I think, a decent chance that it goes under, but Logan's career ERA in Kauffman is 5.5. And with how he struggled on the road, I expect this one it's not going to be a clean game. And I hope it is, in the sense that I hope it's a clean game from the Mariners side as far as the pitching is concerned, but I could see this being a 7-4 final score line, going in the Mariners' favor, of course, because we're biased. But on top of that, just talking about what I mentioned earlier with some of the guys and how well they've hit in Kauffman. I mean, Cal's at plus 265 to hit a home run. You mentioned Gino and his career against Michael Wacha. Some of it probably taking place back when he was a Red and Wacha was a Cardinal. But still, Gino at plus 400 to hit a home run in this game as well. There's some decent chance that there could be some fireworks and some back and forth home run swings, if you will, because there's top to bottom guys in both lineups that can do that. And of course, the Mariners offense is a bit more potent than the Royals offense. And part of the reason why the Royals have struggled this year is some of the pitching injuries that they've sustained and a little bit of maybe some regression from some guys that they expected to be better. But regardless, this is a game where the Mariners are the favorites. And another line that I like, Logan Gilbert, 7+ strikeouts at plus 178. I think that's a good line as far as strikeouts are concerned. Logan, big strikeout pitcher when he's on, and getting plus money at 7 strikeouts, assuming he goes 6 innings. I mean, you have to record 18 outs at that point. Getting 7 of them via the strikeout doesn't seem too unreasonable as far as my concern, or as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this game specifically.
I will say the Royals have the second best strikeout rate in all of baseball at 18.4%.
That's
just behind the Toronto Blue Jays at 17.7. So we know how good of a strikeout pitcher Logan Gilbert is, but those odds specifically, I'm not sure if I love them, but I do think that, again, it's Logan. He's been striking out like 10 a game all season. So sure. To record 3+ total bases, I think is a fun one. And they have Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez right around the same.
Okay.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. These are guys, especially Julio. He's kind of been, obviously we know he's on a tear. He's been hitting doubles left and right. He's been hitting the ball out of the ballpark quite a bit lately as well. Bobby Witt is not having, I guess, the Bobby Witt season you would normally expect out of him. He's still been good, but he's just not been what we, MVP caliber, if you will, which I find interesting. Which, I mean, maybe that bodes well for the Mariners in this one, but I think that when you're looking at game 2, we can't see the FanDuel odds right now for game 2.
Yeah.
If we could, I would be willing to bet they would not be leaning in the Mariners' favor in this one.
No.
Bryce Miller on the mound versus Cole Ragans coming back from the injured list. Cole Ragans is a guy who, many could say was a Cy Young favorite last year, a guy who, had a really good chance to win it. And we know how Bryce has been so far this year. It's been hit or miss. He was good in his last start. With that being said, and again, Bryce was the one that started the game last year. It was Ryan Bliss's first home run was hit in that game. The Mariners had a 7-run first inning, and versus like Daniel Lynch the fourth or whatever the heck that guy's name was. and Bryce just, gave it up, and the Mariners ended up losing that game 9-8 on a walk-off, which just felt so reminiscent of the Luis game the year before. But I think that we have a way to break the juju in this one, because on the back of my fortune is our lucky numbers.
Oh,
for the series. These guys are going to have good series. Mark this down. Number 20, Luke Raley is going to have a good series. Number 35, nobody wears 35 on the active roster, so that one isn't really. Mark Trumbo from years ago is going to have a good series.
Sure.
Number
Zach
1.
Pop. Did Zach Pop wear it this year?
He might have, yeah. Number 1, Ryan Bliss, obviously injured. Number 22, Brian Wu. He's going to come in relief. Man.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
Number 47, Matt Brash. Going to have himself a good series. And the last number on here is number 50 for Bryce Miller. Going to have himself a fantastic game in this one versus the Kansas City Royals. Bryce has seen some success. Nobody in that, obviously hasn't been around that long, so looks like it's just one game for the Royals versus Miller, but nobody with a home run off of him, only 3 RBI off of Bryce in the career for these guys for the Royals. I guess Mike Yastrzemski's 1 for 1, so
Yeah.
do with that as you will, whatever. Cole Ragans, a pretty similar story. Looks like it's just probably one start for him versus the Mariners. The only guy with a home run, he's 2 for 3 versus Ragans, is JP Crawford, who maybe he can find some of that power stroke moving forward. But this, I don't know, this game just feels like a game that is not going to go in the Mariners' favor simply because we know how good Ragans can be.
I will say his underlying numbers tell a better tale of who the pitcher we all know Cole Ragans to be. His season ERA of 5.18. He's only made 10 starts, pitched in 48 and 2/3 innings. A season ERA of 5.18. His expected ERA 2.73. His FIP 2.47. So
wow.
Yeah, he's pitched to a 3.82 BABIP. Of course, very limited. He did go on the IL for a long. I mean, he hasn't pitched since May. There's I think a rotator cuff that has kept him out from May until now, and he's going to be on a pitch limit for sure. His most recent rehab, where they decided, yep, he's ready to go 3 2/3, 7 strikeouts. Where that's what we know Cole Ragans to be. When the Royals got him in 2023, it's like, oh, okay, yep, this guy's going to be probably pretty good for quite some time. And he was behind Seth Lugo, the second best pitcher on the Royals last year, and looked, like you're saying, to be poised to have a bigger 2025. And of course, just sometimes injuries do derail you in that regard. It is a tough matchup, to say the least. And some of the things that support that as well is, I mean, you mentioned Bryce Miller with the one singular start against the Royals. Of any pitcher since 2015 that has started a game for the Seattle Mariners, of course, it's only one start. Sample size is, impossible to really justify me saying this out loud. But Bryce Miller is the only pitcher with an ERA above 10 for a starting pitcher. He's got an ERA of 12.60 in one start against the Royals. I mean, there's only a handful of pitchers that I'd say pitch well. Iwakuma had a 0.66 in 2 starts.
Woo.
Mike Montgomery, a 1.42 ERA in 1 start. Like, the best pitcher as far as by starts are concerned, James Paxton has 4 with a 3.38. But none of the pitchers in this series that are going against the Royals, Gilbert, Miller, and then we know it's Luis Castillo in Game 3, none of them have an ERA below 5. Miller at 12.6, Gilbert at a 5.51, and my birthday for Luis Castillo, 7.27 in 3 starts against the Royals. And of course, I don't know if all 3 of those are in a Mariners uniform. Oh, actually, no, they aren't all in a Mariners uniform. Never mind, because the way I set up the stats. But regardless, pitching at Kauffman Stadium specifically has not been a very easy thing for Mariners pitching to do. If there was ever a game to lose, again, a part of it too, though, is if Bryce Miller, I mean, he punched out 11 Angels the other day. Yes, the Angels are one of the worst strikeout rates in all of baseball. Royals, one of the better ones. It's not going to be an easy day for Bryce on the mound. But Ragans is probably not going to throw more than 4 innings, I would guess. Unless it's a very efficient 5. Because, yes, they maybe see themselves in it still. But ultimately, they just want Ragans to get a little bit more game action before the season ends, so that way he's not behind schedule necessarily going into this offseason and into 2026. So they want to see him get work, but they also don't want to overwork him and have him get injured again. So I would expect a 70-75 pitch limit. And we've seen the Mariners go to town on some pitch counts against some really good starters at points during this season. So maybe it's even 3 innings, a little bit of copium, but if we're thinking about how karma works, I love that 50's on your fortune. I love that. That's awesome.
I will say, we talk about Ragans getting Ragans out of the game earlier. The Royals have the 5th best ERA in terms of their relievers in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. The Mariners are at number 7. The Royals are at 3.61. The Padres, by the way, my goodness, 3.13. The next number 2 is 3.45. It's impressive for the Padres. But yeah, they have a good bullpen. Obviously, Carlos Estevez at the back end, closing out that game. They don't have Aroldis Chapman anymore, but nonetheless, they're still a team that they're going to be able to pitch a little bit. And Kauffman's not necessarily a hitter-friendly ballpark. You're going to have to find a way to manufacture runs. And the hard part for the Mariners over the past couple of years has been that they rely pretty heavily on the home run ball. And this year, maybe more so than ever.
Oh, yeah.
You have multiple guys over 20. You have multiple guys over 40 this year, which I don't know the last time we can say. Obviously, Gino didn't hit them all with you, yeah. But nonetheless, in your lineup, and that's something. In a ballpark like Kauffman, where the ball doesn't necessarily fly, the Royals make their living on being a scrappy, annoying baseball team. And there's a reason why they're so good at home. They're a team. One of the reasons why the Mariners are so good at home is because they're a team that's built to win at T-Mobile Park. You think about the pitching that they have, it's built to win at T-Mobile Park, and a lot of power lefties on that team as well. When you look at the Royals, they're a team offensively that is built to win at Kauffman Stadium. They're a team that's, again, Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, guys like that are just scrappy, that, find a way to work your pitch count, that find a way to hit a little dribbler and get on base. They're fast. That is what this team is made up of. And that is something that worries me a little bit for the Mariners going into Kauffman Stadium. And I mentioned there have been a few blow-up starts by the Mariners in Kauffman. I don't know which one's more memorable. If it's recency bias, then it's Bryce Miller.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that the Luis Castillo one is more memorable in my eyes.
Okay.
And he goes in game 3 on Thursday at 11:10 a.m. Pacific. Interesting to note, Bryce has had one of those starts and Luis has had one of those starts. Does that mean Logan's going to have that start in the first game?
He's breaking the curse.
We are breaking the Kauffman curse in this one. Yeah, when we go look at Luis's numbers versus the Royals, obviously Luis has been around for a lot longer than someone like Bryce, but Adam Frazier, of course, in 20 at-bats has a home run off of Luis. Michael Massey has a home run. Mike Yastrzemski has a home run. Versus Luis Castillo, the most ABs on the team actually is Adam Frazier, which makes sense with the Pirates being in the National League Central and the Reds. But number 2 on that list, Salvador Perez is hitting 222 over 18 at-bats. So that's something to look forward to, I guess. And Luis, in his last outing on the road, kind of put to bed some questions that we had. Not put to bed, but put our minds at ease, if you will, that he's just completely broken on the road. Now, again, returning to the scene of a literal crime. That game was stolen from the Mariners years ago, a literal crime. That may change some things. And Joe, on MLB, it is listed as TBD to be starting that game. You mentioned something to me that Seth Lugo might be starting that game for the Royals going into game 3. He has been fantastic for Kansas City over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I don't want to commit to that idea because it's hard because I don't fully remember where I read it, which is unfortunate because here it is. It's an MLB.com news article by Ann Rogers. It looks like from 9 o'clock this morning. The Royals list Thursday's starter as to be announced, but it could be Seth Lugo, who has been on the 15-day IL since September 4th with a low back strain. He's scheduled to throw a bullpen on Monday, and if it all goes well, he could be pegged for his return Thursday. Which would be, that's a tough draw as far as pitching is concerned. You get Wacha, Ragans, Lugo. For the 2024 Royals, that was a 3-headed monster. Has it been that exact same thing this year? Not necessarily. Wacha's been good. Ragans, again, like I said, the underlying numbers could show that he has been good. He's just been getting a little unlucky. Lugo, on the other hand, is not having the same year. An ERA north of 4 compared to last year when he had a 3 flat ERA. A lot of his Savant page is blue. All of the pitching, the bulky section, like xERA, like expected ERA, expected batting average, fastball velo, average exit velo. The only things that aren't like the darker blue, So like the more closer to the middle of the pack are K percentage at 34 percentile, 34th, walk percentage at 32nd percentile, and then ground ball percentage at the 36th percentile. Everything else is at 20 or below. And of course, savant bubbles aren't everything, but if you go back to the previous year, there's a lot better stuff to look at there. And as far as pitching run value is concerned, I mean, it's basically all red aside from his fastball. This year, it's very blue for his fastball and his off speed. So if it is Lugo, it might not be as disastrous as it feels hearing that coming into this, but he's a guy that will throw the kitchen sink. I mean, he throws 8 pitches, and he throws.
Good Lord,
I think it might be more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pitches. Of those, stop it. It looks like 7 of them are like around 9% or more. Of course, the curveball's at 23%, fastball's at 21%, sinker's at 14.5%. So it does stagger down, but he's got a lot of different looks for you. And sometimes that works. Like in 2024, it's worked. I mean, in 2023, had a good year as well. This year hasn't worked out super well. On the other side of that, it could be Michael Lorenzen, who is not. Whoever is the game 3 starter is the one I am the least worried about, if that makes sense. Aside from the fact that Ragans probably only goes 4 innings, but like you mentioned, the bullpen is very good, a deep bullpen, which that could spell disaster for you as well. But Michael Lorenzen, he has not had a clean start since it looks like August 16th, where he went 4 innings against the White Sox. He had 82 pitches. I don't know if they were up early in that one. I don't really know the game script for that one. One right before that, July 6th, so almost a month in between starts. 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs against the Diamondbacks. We did see him in Seattle start right before that on July 1st. 4 2/3, 6 hits, 3 earned from Lorenzen, but the last couple have not been clean for him. Last one out against Philadelphia for Lorenzen, 3 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned. Of course, it's Philadelphia. It's a little bit hard. But against Minnesota, 5 1/3, 7 hits, 4 earned. It's a bad Minnesota team. So if it's Lorenzen, if it's Lugo, I think I'd rather face Lorenzen just based on pedigree in total, in like totality. But it's not an easy pitching matchup either way, especially considering games 1 and 2, how those might look. And then when you have Luis Castillo in mind, what version of him are you going to get? Because like you said, I mean, his start in Atlanta was good. Like, it's not perfect. Of course, it's not bad by any means, but Kauffman is a different breed, and it's terrifying going to Kauffman. Everyone at the beginning of the season had this road trip circled on their calendars, like, oh yeah, here's where the blood pressure is going to boil. And that's just the fact of the matter of like what you expect when you go to Kauffman every single season. I'd rather them got it done earlier in the year, but if there's ever a time for them to go into Kauffman and flip the narrative, is a 9-game winning streak heading into it, where you are sitting atop the American League West, and the Astros had a pretty potentially season-changing injury happen in Game 1 against the Rangers. They won the game 6-3, so they set a half game back, but Jordan looked like he sprained his ankle pretty severely, and he was seen leaving the clubhouse in a walking boot and on crutches after this game. So if he's out for the remainder of this season, or, you know, until the postseason, should they make it, that could be pretty pivotal going forward when you see them in 3 days, or, you know, in 3 games time, 4 days from now, you know, Tuesday to Friday. But again, something I always like to preach. It's the series in front of you. It's the team right in front of you. You can't worry about the Astros yet. All you can do is play the team in front of you and let everything else kind of play out naturally. And Game 3, Castillo versus who knows? You'll probably know by the time you're watching this, as it always goes for us here on the Hit of Your podcast. But yeah, Castillo's a tough draw, specifically in Kauffman, given the history. But if it's Lorenzen or Lugo, I feel okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Rangers and Astros game, because even so, obviously them playing each other does affect the Mariners in the playoff standings. The Mariners still sit atop the West. They're a half game up now on the Astros. The Astros have an off day on, I believe, Thursday. So that's where that game will kind of get figured out. But It puts the Rangers 3 games back of the Mariners in the wild, or I'm sorry, 3 games back of the Astros in the wild card hunt. I Bleav it was if the Astros win this series, or do they have to sweep
They
that
have to
series to own the
sweep. So
tiebreaker?
going into
They have
this,
to
it
sweep.
was 6-4 in favor of the Rangers. So if the Astros want the tiebreaker over them, they need to win the next 2 games.
Right. So definitely has some potential ramifications for the Mariners moving forward. But again, they are still in first place. Just some other housekeeping things to talk about here. Colt Emerson was promoted from Arkansas up to AAA Tacoma for the rest of the season as AAA Tacoma vies for a playoff spot in the PCL this year. Interesting. I mean, I made a short about it. I don't think you've really had a chance to get your thoughts out there. So let's hear it.
I don't have, I think, any groundbreaking perspective on it. I don't think. Some stuff that I've seen come out about it is the Mariners needed some infield depth, specifically at shortstop in Tacoma, given Ryan Bliss, another injury that ends his season. If Bliss doesn't get injured, Colt does not get that call up, more than likely. Or if he does, he's not going to play, and he's just there to kind of be with the team as far as to be in a postseason environment. Postseason, I'll put quotes around that. But Colt has been in winning environments where he helped the Modesto Nuts in his first year of professional baseball win the California League Championship. So vying for another postseason berth within the organization, specifically playing for the Rainiers. If he plays, awesome. If he doesn't see him a ton of time, I'm not overly concerned. Colt had a great 2025 campaign. Capping it off by being one step away from the major league level is a really cool experience. And I mean, he's no longer halfway across the country. He is a 40-minute drive to Seattle, essentially, where the Rainiers have an off day. Don't be surprised if you see Colt Emerson in T-Mobile if the schedule lines up that way. And if they do go into the postseason, the Rainiers do, of course, you'll see him less. But don't be shocked if they get eliminated at any point. You see Colt Emerson hanging around what a potential postseason team in the Seattle Mariners in 2025 looks like, to kind of feel out that clubhouse and feel out the culture and like what that looks like going forward, because Colt Emerson's making his debut in 2026, more than likely, given his trajectory and how he's played. I would be very surprised if we don't see him in a Mariners uniform at the season's end. Could be a September call-up similar to Harry Ford, would be my best assessment, where maybe he's not playing as much as we all want him to. Depends on where the Mariners sit as far as their postseason chances are at that point. But I like the move. I think it's cool for him, and it just extends his season. He's not playing in the Arizona Fall League, so getting a dozen more games under his belt depends. It's never a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. I expected him to be in AAA at the start of next year anyway. So you know what I mean? I expected him to start in AAA next year. So cool. I mean, like, he gets a little taste of it earlier than that. But interesting to note that his former team in the Everett Aqua Sox just won the Northwest League. Mm-hmm. They took down the Eugene Emeralds to win the Northwest League. So super excited for those guys. I Bleav that is now every minor league team has won the championship in the last 5 years. Is that right?
I don't know for sure about Tacoma, but
yeah,
Arkansas won last year. Modesto, I think, won back-to-back in 23 and 24.
One more note here. We are going to be releasing an episode on Thursday after the final game of the Royals series. And then we will be releasing another episode on Friday talking about the Astros series, where we'll go over kind of where things are at and where the division stands. But that is going to do it from us here on episode 227 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by FanDuel, and go Mariners.